The House will be in order. Chair lays before the House a communication from the Speaker.
The Speaker's Rooms, Washington, D.C., May 14, 2026. I hereby appoint the Honorable Addison P. McDowell to act as Speaker pro tempore on this day. Signed, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Pursuant to the order of the House of January 6, 2026, the Chair will now recognize members from lists submitted by the majority and the minority leaders for morning hour debate. The Chair will alternate recognition between the parties with time equally allocated between the parties, and each member other than the majority and the minority leader and the minority whip limited to 5 minutes, but in no event shall debate continue beyond 11:50 a.m. The Chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Michigan, Ms. Tlaib, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, DTE Energy has a monopoly in my district. It's the primary source of utilities for gas and electricity for my residents. This is why it was critical and important for me to introduce the Make DTE Pay Act. It would substantially increase monetary penalties on utilities like DTE Energy when they seek customer rate increases within 2 preceding or following Clean Air Act violations. You might ask why. Well, because DTE had gotten hit with more than $100 million in penalties for violating the Clean Air Act by a federal judge. Within the same week, they got $240 million increase in rates. And DTE Energy customers, our residents, already know we're paying some of the highest rates in the country for some of the least reliable services, all while DTE shareholders and executives get richer. And now we know DTE has again been hit by this violation. They turned around and put it on the consumers. Corporate polluters like DTE treat breaking environmental laws as just the cost of doing business. It is insulting to every single family in my district that is being poisoned by the air they breathe because of this company. And they turn around and jack up our utility bills year after year. That's why it is critical and important that we introduce the Make DTE Pay Act. I encourage my colleagues to understand the importance of this. This legislation forces utilities like DTE to make a choice: follow the Clean Air Act or face real financial consequences when they try to raise rates on customers that they already harmed. We have to change the math. Polluting our communities must be as bad for business as it is for our health. Our families deserve clean air, reliable service, and accountability, not excuses and higher bills. Mr. Speaker, Republicans are trying to drag this country back to Jim Crow South, where black political power is stripped, our voices are stripped, silenced, and dismissed. This time, not with the hoods, but with maps and court rulings that do the same old work. People might find this insulting, but it's very obvious why we need the Voting Rights Act, because they turned around and changed the maps to dilute black voices. With the help of the far-right extreme Supreme Court, they are dismantling voting rights across the South and targeting our black neighbors who bled, marched, and died for our civil rights. The administration promised to make life more affordable. Instead, they've gutted our health care for millions, invested in death and destruction abroad, and used their fascist ICE army to tear apart our communities. They know these policies are not popular among the American people. That's why they're redrawing the maps, because it's the only way they can win. I'm from Detroit, the most beautiful, blackest city in the country. Come there. It is the most loving, most resilient communities that you've ever met. And that's where I learned to speak truth to power, even if my voice shakes. When black political power is attacked anywhere, our democracy itself is under attack everywhere. We've seen all this before, colleagues. But like those who came before us, we will not be intimidated, we will not be silenced, we will not back down. Mr. Speaker, right now on any given night, the richest country on earth, nearly 771,000 of our neighbors are unhoused. 1 million children experience homelessness every year. Think about that, 1 million children. This is not accidental, this is a policy choice. Every year, Congress passes another record-breaking military budget. We always find money for war and destruction, even though they haven't passed 8 audits in a row. The Department of War hasn't. But somehow we are told there's not enough money to house our people. This is unacceptable. We know the truth. Congress has the money and Congress has the power to change that. What is missing is the political will to care deeply about those that maybe won't have access to the same opportunities many of us had in this chamber. Housing is a human right. Our government has a responsibility to treat it that way. No more excuses. We must act because our neighbors deserve a home and dignity, and we refuse to accept anything else. Please join me in supporting the Unhoused Person Bill of Rights resolution that lays out a real path forward, boosting affordable housing for so many of our communities, fully funding federal housing programs, and expanding access to services for unhoused individuals. These are investments we need, and these are investments that the American people ask for. Thank you so much, and I yield.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Womack, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor and recognize a business in my district celebrating its 100th birthday this month. Harris Baking Company of Rogers, Arkansas, began operations back in 1926 under the leadership of Earl A. Harris. During the Great Depression, the bakery team produced up to 250 loaves each day and sold them for a mere 10 cents a loaf. Mr. Harris, grateful for his employees, made sure during that difficult time that none of those employees missed a check. He expanded it in 1937 and upped the daily production to 1,200 loaves a day, and in 1950, a slicing and wrapping operation was added. Earl Harris died in 1959, but the legacy of his company ensued. With serious competition from national brands, a group of independent grocers purchased the bakery from the Harris family, the first to be owned by independent retailers in the United States. By 1978, Harris Baking Company was producing 1 million loaves a year. And by the time it celebrated its 60th anniversary, it boasted 100 employees, producing 75,000 units a day, a $250 million impact on the local economy. Today, the company has 180 employees. It distributes more than 30 million loaves annually. Deliveries occur 3 times a week in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Missouri. And it's not just about the bottom line. Harris Baking Company routinely helps with disaster relief when our citizens are suffering a hardship. Mr. Speaker, the book of Matthew says, "Give us this day our daily bread." Harris Baking Company of Rogers, Arkansas, has been delivering this basic food staple now for 100 years. Congratulations to this outstanding company, and here's to another century of quality service. And I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Oregon, Ms. Dexter, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor the far too short life and legacy of Kale, a community leader, a fierce advocate for immigrant and refugee families, and a beloved son of East County and Oregon. Kale came to Portland as a young child, an Ayumen refugee from Laos, whose family spent years in a refugee camp before finding safety here. That story became the foundation of his life's work, ensuring that other immigrant and refugee families had what his family did not, a voice in the decision that shaped their lives. He brought that purpose to everything he touched. As civic engagement manager at Apano, he fought tirelessly for Asian Pacific American communities across Oregon. He served as president of the Ayumen Association of Oregon, board chair of the Asian and Pacific Islander Community Coalition of Oregon, a member of the Immigrant and Refugee Community Organization Governance Board, and a board member at the Reynolds District, or School District. He helped build a school in Laos and was instrumental in founding Minted, a nonprofit dedicated to uplifting Southeast Asian youth. His commitment was as steadfast as it was genuine. In the final chapter of his work, as ICE escalated its cruel targeting of Laotian and Southeast Asian community members across Oregon, Kale immersed himself in the effort to protect his neighbors. I had the honor just a few weeks ago to work with Kale, PERC, the City of Portland, and many others to elevate the work we all need to be doing to protect our Laotian and Hmong immigrants in our community from ICE's cruelty and lawlessness. He wanted his people to be informed, protected, and seen. That was Kale. He had a gift for bringing people together through friendship, through laughter, through shared meals, and through the simple, powerful act of showing up. He made people feel welcomed and valued, and he understood that community is built through relationships as much as it is through policy. To his wife, May, his children, and his family, Oregon grieves with you, and we stand in firm support of you as you navigate this really treacherous and hard time. Kale gave so much to so many, and his legacy lives on in every person he inspired to show up, to organize, and to lead with heart. His legacy calls us forward. Mr. Speaker, inflation just jumped to its highest level in 3 years. Gas prices are at a 4-year high, with Oregonians paying an average of $5.35 a gallon. Working families are struggling. They are choosing between filling up their tank and putting food on the table. They are watching their costs go up while their paychecks stay the same. This is the reality at home, and bringing relief to our communities must be our priority. And yet, the administration and the Republicans are refusing to center the American people. Instead, they are allowing a reckless and unnecessary war in the Middle East to continue, driving up global oil prices, alienating our allies, and creating instability in energy markets and the world's economy. Just yesterday, the Senate once again blocked legislation to stop this war. Today, the House has an opportunity to act. We will vote on a war powers resolution. At a time when Americans are asking us for relief, we should not be prolonging a war that makes their lives more expensive and less stable. I refuse to stop talking about how hard people are working just to get by. I urge my colleagues to prioritize caring for working families and demand an end to this war in Iran. I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Thompson, for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to recognize National Police Week, observed this year from May 10th to May 16th. Established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962, this week serves as a solemn tribute to the men and women in blue who lost their lives in the line of duty. Since then, support for the National Police Week has grown significantly. National Police Week is sponsored by the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund. Its mission is to tell the story of American law enforcement, honor the fallen, and make it safer for those who serve. This year, thousands of police officers and law enforcement supporters are gathering here in Washington, D.C. to show their public support for the men and women who wear the badge. I encourage people visiting our nation's capital this week to visit the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial. Here you can pay tribute to more than 24,000 officers whose names are engraved on the memorial. Earlier this year, we mourned Pennsylvania State Trooper Timothy O'Connor, who died during a traffic stop. Trooper O'Connor, like so many other law enforcement officers we have lost, served with dignity, honor, and courage. I pray God continues to protect and bless his family. Every day, more than 700,000 law enforcement officers uphold the responsibility of protecting Americans and serving their local communities. Mr. Speaker, our officers put on their uniforms each day knowing that they can be in harm's way at any moment. As a member of Congress, I thank the Capitol Police officers who work so hard to protect the Capitol, members of Congress and their staff. These men and women serve with integrity and goodwill, making it possible for representatives to serve their constituents. Police officers across the nation make their communities safer, and for that, we are grateful. Mr. Speaker, as we honor National Police Week, it is important to take a moment and remember the sacrifices of many officers as well as their families have made. May God continue to protect our police officers and their families, and thank you to all the officers who take the oath to serve and protect the public. Happy National Police Week. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from New York, Mr. Kennedy, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we commemorate National Police Week, I rise today on behalf of a grateful Western New York community and a grateful nation to mourn the passing of Buffalo Police Inspector Daniel E. Redmond, who we lost on March 4th, 2026, at the age of 86. Inspector Redmond's life was defined by service, sacrifice, and an unwavering commitment to protecting the city of good neighbors, Buffalo, New York. Dan wore the badge for 39 years. He rose through the ranks from patrol officer to lieutenant to captain and ultimately to inspector, the highest civil service rank in the department. But what defined Dan most was not the title he had, but the choices he made. Choices that helped him earn the respect of our entire city and community. Dan believed leadership meant standing shoulder to shoulder with the men and women doing the work. It meant being present when it mattered most. As an inspector, Dan could have taken the easy path. He could have worked steady days, avoided weekends, and spent his time behind a desk. Instead, he chose the night shifts and the hardest hours, often working the same shifts as the youngest officers under his command. That was the kind of public servant that Dan Redmond was. That was the kind of leader he was. Over the course of his career, he responded to some of the most difficult and tragic moments our city has ever faced. He was there in the aftermath of violence, in the chaos of crime scenes, and in the solemn heartbreak that follows unspeakable loss. He served as the initial command officer at hundreds of incidents, moments that would test anyone's strength, courage, and humanity. And yet through it all, Dan persevered because of his spirit and his virtue. Those who knew him best knew a kind and easygoing man who led with empathy. Dan cared deeply for his fellow officers. He made it a point to be there for them in their precincts, on the streets, and at the scenes that would stay with them long after their shifts ended. He understood that policing is not just about enforcing the law, it's about connecting with the communities that you're sworn to protect. Dan's legacy of service didn't end with him. His son Daniel and daughter-in-law Lisa both became Buffalo police detectives. His eldest grandson, John, currently serves as a Buffalo police officer. In Buffalo, the Redmond lineage is synonymous with the commitment to protect and serve, thanks to the example Dan set for his family. Outside his uniform, Dan was a devoted husband to his wife, Margaret, for 58 years. Their partnership was built on faith, love, and resilience. He was a proud father to Daniel, Molly, and the late Peggy. He was a beloved grandfather to John, Kira, Michael, Natalie, Mary Grace, Kyle, Carolyn, Patrick, Lillian, and the late Margaret. In retirement, Dan found joy in the simple things like riding his bike through the streets of South Buffalo, reading a good book, and watching a movie with the love of his life. He was a man of deep faith, a devoted member of St. Martin of Tours Church, and a steady presence in the neighborhood that shaped him. With Dan's passing, Buffalo lost one of our strongest advocates and guardians. On behalf of a grateful community and a grateful nation, I want to thank Inspector Redmond. Thank you for the nights you gave up so others could sleep safely. Thank you for the burdens you carried so others would not have to. Thank you for choosing the path of service. Buffalo is safer and stronger because of Dan's work. May we honor his legacy by living up to the example he set to serve with humility and lead with integrity. May Daniel E. Redmond rest in peace. I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Taylor, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Michael Gator Herod, who recently eclipsed an impressive 1 million miles as a truck driver, accident-free. Michael moved from Florida to Chillicothe, Ohio, and started his journey to 1 million miles just 7 years ago. One of the perks Michael shared from his experience has been seeing many of the beautiful parts of America and Canada. Responsible for making hundreds of decisions on the road every day that impact safety, both himself and other drivers, Michael has an exceptional track record of safe driving. He is known for taking necessary precautions, following speed requirements, and vigilantly looking out for potential obstacles. Generating nearly $906 billion in revenue in 2024, America's trucking industry powers our economy, creates jobs, 8.5 million jobs, and secures America's supply chains. Michael is just one of the many of our nation's highly skilled truck drivers who we all depend on to transport valuable goods and keep our nation's economy moving forward. In Congress, I'm a vocal advocate of this industry, ensuring that our truck drivers are fully equipped to be safe on the road. I proudly founded the first ever bipartisan Congressional Trucking Caucus to create a forum for lawmakers to address issues relating to the industry and policies that promote integrity, safety, and growth. I also introduced a bill called Connor's Law, which was included in Delilah's Law and passed through the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. My bill will ensure that all truck drivers are proficient in the English language before being granted a commercial driver's license, and prevent any more Americans from being killed or injured at the hands of truck drivers who can't read road signs. It's outstanding drivers like Michael who set the standard of excellence in our trucking industry, and I commend him on this amazing achievement. I look forward to continuing to advocate for the needs of our amazing truck drivers in Congress. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Butter Manley of River Valley High School. Butter recently won the first state wrestling championship in River Valley history and the third state championship in the history of the school. Butter, who is only a sophomore, dominated the tournament in the 190-pound Division III weight class, beating competitors from across Ohio on the way to the state championship. He was supported along the way by Southern Ohio and the River Valley community. A special streaming party was even held for those who could not make it to the tournament in Columbus so they could watch Butter compete. Butter, all of Southern Ohio is proud of your achievement and cannot wait to see your continued success during your junior and senior years and beyond. Every other Ohio wrestler ought to watch out for Butter Manley. He means business. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize a group of outstanding Portsmouth High School athletes, including the Lady Trojans girls basketball team, Serenity Kalb, and Bailey Waddle, all of whom recently won back-to-back state championships. The Lady Trojans basketball team repeated as Division V state champs by beating Ottawa Glandorf 53-48 on the back of junior Kiki Wood's 26-point performance. Portsmouth's victory ended Ottawa Glandorf's 28-game winning streak. Additionally, Serenity Kalb and Bailey Waddle won state championships for the second year in a row in powerlifting in each of their respective weight classes. In claiming her title, Serenity lifted a total of 730 pounds between the squat, deadlift, and bench press, and Bailey lifted an impressive 930 pounds. These girls' dedication, hard work, and skill are evident through their high achievements, and I commend them for their outstanding accomplishments. Portsmouth High School is a force to be reckoned with, and I want to give a heartfelt congratulations to all these stellar athletes. And I know I speak for all of Southern Ohio when I say we are proud of the Trojans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
The chair recognizes a gentleman from New York, Mr. Latimer, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise to recognize and celebrate David Donovan, who is retiring from the New York State Broadcasting Association after serving as its president for 15 years. David worked with the New York delegation, spanning multiple decades, using his expertise in telecom policy to support broadcasters and the New Yorkers that tune in. Before his tenure as president, David spent more than 25 years working in the broadcast regulatory sector here in Washington, D.C. His work at the FCC, the Department of Commerce, and television associations, David's work helped ensure that our media remained free, fair, and accessible. In New York, we are grateful for the expertise David has brought to the NYSBA and how he has shaped the way we support the news. From the floor of the House of Representatives, we salute Mr. Donovan for his long-tenured service and wish him well in his much-deserved retirement. Mr. Speaker, last week was National Small Business Week, which is an opportunity to recognize the hard work and ingenuity of America's small business owners. But I frequently hear from small businesses that rely on price stability to source their products and predict earnings. Whether deliberate or not, President Trump's tariffs are causing economic uncertainty and are hurting small business owners' ability to plan for the future. Earlier this year, I hosted a small business roundtable in my district where I heard from an entrepreneur in Westchester about the impact of the president's tariffs on her ice cream business. Her cost to purchase dark chocolate has risen 144%, from $90 in November of 2024 to $220 in May of 2025. The Washington Post and the New York Post reported that over 700 U.S. businesses were forced into bankruptcy in 2025, representing a 14% increase from the previous year. This Small Business Week, as SBA Administrator and this House Majority trumpet the tax provisions of the Big Ugly Bill, I implore this body to finally recognize the President's tariffs for what they are, a small business killer. Mr. Speaker, President Trump, currently in China, has submitted to Congress a $1.5 trillion defense budget that would boost Pentagon spending by 40%, with $350 billion of it to be passed by the reconciliation process, which will allow the Republican majorities in both houses to do so without any Democratic scrutiny or agreement. No compromise. Impose a one-party explosion in defense spending without any debate. Skirt the Senate filibuster, which the GOP will use regularly if they return to minority status in the future, which forces the two parties to reach some agreement. $1 billion for a White House ballroom that doesn't benefit the farmer who voted for President Trump. A beautiful blue-colored reflecting pool, a free jet from Qatar, an Arc de Triomphe on the Mall, an endless war with no articulated endgame. Was this what was sold to the voters in 2024 who gave narrow majorities to the GOP House, the Senate, and the White House? Food prices and gas prices up and up again. No surprise to me why you'd want to end mail-in ballots or place ICE agents at polling booths. These policies cannot stand on their own merit with the voters. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from New York, Mr. Lawler, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to pay tribute to Brett Kelly, owner of La Terrazza's restaurant in New City, New York, who passed away peacefully at the age of 58 following a stroke. A New Jersey native, Brett grew up in South Hackensack and earned a degree from William Patterson University in 1989. From a young age, he dreamed of owning a restaurant where people from all walks of life could gather and enjoy authentic Italian cuisine. Through his strong work ethic, Brett built a career in the hospitality industry, and in 1995, his dream became a reality when he became the proud owner of La Terrazza's. There, he created not just a business, but a place where people felt at home and often referred to his staff as his second family, a testament to the bonds he built throughout his life. Brett will be remembered for his generosity, kindness, and his remarkable ability to make everyone feel at home with his warmth and humor. I extend my deepest condolences to his wife, Lisa, his daughter, Savannah, and all who had the privilege of knowing him. May his memory be a blessing. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor the life of John Jack Coyle, a devoted public servant and pillar of the New City community. Born in Nyack, New York, Jack lived a life defined by service, commitment, and quiet leadership. After graduating from Nyack High School and Southern Methodist University, he proudly answered the call to serve his country in the United States Army, reflecting his lifelong dedication to protecting others. Jack's commitment to public service continued throughout his time at the New City Fire Department, where he served as a volunteer for a remarkable 70 years, making him the oldest living member at the time of his passing. Beyond his service, Jack built an impressive career in the insurance and real estate industry, building Coyle & Coyle Inc. in his hometown, while remaining active in community committees and being an active member of St. John's Episcopal Church in New City. Jack was a loving husband, father, grandfather, and friend to all who knew him. I extend my deepest condolences to his family and loved ones, and may his memory be a blessing. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor the life of Thelma Barlow, a pillar of the Somers community, serving as a school crossing guard for the Somers Central School District for nearly 40 years. A lifelong resident of Shinnerock, New York, Thelma served as the commissioner of the Boy Scouts of America and was a longtime member of the Church and of the Good Shepherd in Granite Springs, where she also served on the Altar Guild. Thelma was an active member of the Ladies Auxiliary of the Somers Fire Department and a member of the Yorktown Grange. Her love of photography and her commitment to her community were always remembered by everyone who knew her. Last year, in recognition of her service, a pedestrian crossing near Route 202, where she would safely usher children to school, was named in her honor. Thelma was a remarkable inspiration to her community, and I extend my heartfelt condolences to her family and loved ones. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Robert Gebbia from Cross River on his retirement after nearly 30 years of distinguished leadership and service to suicide prevention. Bob has led the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, building it into the nation's leading suicide prevention organization. Under his leadership, AFSP expanded to more than 70 chapters nationwide and grew its annual revenue from roughly $1 million to more than $50 million, supporting critical work in research, education, advocacy, and community programs, launching annual Out of the Darkness walks in cities nationwide, connecting millions of Americans affected by suicide to community and raising awareness. He has served as a founding member of the National Council for Suicide Prevention and on the executive committee of the National Action Alliance for Suicide Prevention, helping elevate mental health as a national priority. Bob leaves behind a legacy marked by meaningful impact, compassion, and a steadfast dedication to the nonprofit sector. As he enters retirement, I'm grateful for his leadership and wish him nothing but the very best in the years to come. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Subrahmanyam, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Military Appreciation Month, we honor those who have worn the uniform of the United States Armed Forces and those who continue to wear it today. We celebrate veterans and their families who carry the burden of war with them, and the American service members currently standing watch in dangerous and uncertain places around the world. Every day they choose duty to their country over comfort. And I was proud to begin this Military Appreciation Month at the top of Virginia Honor Flight Send-Off, standing beside veterans whose service helped shape our nation's history and preserve the freedoms that we enjoy today. And as we honor those who serve and have served our country this month, we also need to ensure that our veterans receive the care that they deserve. This includes mental health support for those who carry the invisible wounds of war. And that's why I was proud to introduce the Susan E. Lucas 9/11 Service Members Fairness Act to extend PACT Act benefits to those who returned to work in the Pentagon following the 9/11 attacks before it was safe. And that's why I've spoken out about cuts to the VA and threats to veterans' disability benefits. And that's why I'm pushing for legislation to ensure surviving spouses have the resources they need. Military Appreciation Month is more about just celebrating service. It's also about honoring those that still serve today, supporting veterans who sacrifice so much for this country, and making sure America keeps its promises to the people willing to risk everything to defend it. Mr. Speaker, for years, the People's Republic of China has carried out and operated a vast network of forced labor against ethnic minorities. More than 1 million Uyghurs in particular have been detained since 2017, and most have been forced to work in labor camps. And more must be done to combat this practice of forced labor. The Uyghur community in my district has told me stories, terrible stories, of family and friends in China being forced to work long, strenuous hours or face brutal punishments or torture in detention camps. And unfortunately, many U.S. companies purchase products produced by these forced labor camps. And many Americans don't understand that our phones, clothes, and daily products could all have parts made from that forced labor without us even knowing. And so that's why I'm joining Representative Moran and Representative Carson in introducing the Uyghur Forced Labor Disclosure Act. The bill is straightforward. It requires companies to review and disclose whether any of their products have been produced with Uyghur forced labor. The American people deserve to know if what they buy is the result of forced labor, and this legislation is a step towards stopping those terrible practices. And as President Trump heads to China this week to meet with President Xi Jinping, he must take this opportunity to highlight human rights abuses against Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities during this trip. So let's put an end to forced labor and pass this bill. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise to recognize National Police Week. We celebrate it by supporting and honoring the brave law enforcement officers who serve our communities across the country and the great work that organizations do to support them. That includes federal law enforcement like the U.S. Capitol Police, who keep the entire Capitol Hill complex safe. And I want to especially thank law enforcement personnel in my community, including all of our men and women who served in our town and county sheriff's offices and police departments all across Northern Virginia and Shenandoah. We're also so grateful for airport, metro, university, and state law enforcement officials who help protect our community in so many ways. This is also a time to honor law enforcement that we have lost, officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty, like Ashley Gideon, a Prince William County officer who was shot and killed on her first day 10 years ago. Every year, an average of 57 police officers are killed by suspects, and far too many, at least 184 public safety officers, die by suicide each year. As we honor and remember service members we've lost, let's continue to support our commitment to law enforcement officials and their families. It takes all of us to keep them safe, too. And thank you to all the law enforcement out there. Thank you, and I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Klein, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Gene Copenhaver of Southwest Virginia on his selection as president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, the nation's oldest and largest cattle producer organization. A fifth-generation cattleman whose family roots in Virginia date back to the 1850s, Gene has devoted his life to agriculture, service, and leadership. He's the first Virginian in the association's 128-year history to serve as its president, assuming this role on February 5th. As president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, Gene Copenhaver represents producers nationwide, including cattlemen and women here in Virginia's 6th Congressional District. Over 4 decades, Gene balanced managing his family's cattle operation with a 38-year career as an agricultural loan officer, serving cattle producers across 5 East Coast states. He's held numerous leadership roles within NCBA and is past president of the Virginia Cattlemen's Association. Despite a demanding travel schedule, he remains committed to grassroots engagement and local cattlemen's organizations, believing that strong agriculture begins at the community level. Congratulate Gene, his wife Jody, and their family, and I thank him for his leadership in strengthening American agriculture and our nation's food security. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in honor of Police Week to pay tribute to the heroes who protect and serve our communities every day. Our nation and our streets are safer because police officers put themselves in harm's way in the service of others. Their courage, professionalism, and unwavering commitment to duty are the foundation of safe neighborhoods, strong communities, and the rule of law. This week, we recognize the men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice and lost their lives in the line of duty. We honor their memory, and we stand with the families they left behind, whose own sacrifices are immeasurable. Their loved ones answered the call to serve, and we owe them a debt that can never fully be repaid. We also recognize the law enforcement officers who continue to serve with courage and dedication, knowing each day that their calling is the safety and protection of others. In the 6th District and across the Commonwealth, our officers exemplify that spirit of service. This is a time of reflection, unity, and gratitude as we honor the resilience, commitment, and steadfast dedication of those who wear the badge. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Ms. Pam Simmons for her well-deserved retirement as director of the Rockingham-Harrisonburg Alcohol Safety Action Program, or ASAP, where she served for 38 years. ASAP works to reduce alcohol-related accidents and fatalities through education and prevention. During her tenure, she strengthened partnerships with law enforcement, providing training and donating equipment, such as ALCO sensors funded entirely through ASAP fees, not through taxpayer dollars. She also worked with local colleges, serving on the board of JMU's Community Coalition, and established ASAP as a field placement site for psychology and health science students, helping prepare the next generation of professionals. Pam is also proud to have served as president of the Virginia ASAP Directors Association. Beyond her official duties, she volunteered on the board and is president of Harrisonburg's First Night, a well-loved, family-centered, and alcohol-free New Year's Eve celebration. Mr. Speaker, Pam Simmons is an unsung hero whose career was devoted to making our community safer, and her service has undoubtedly saved lives and strengthened the Shenandoah Valley. We thank her and wish her the very best in her next chapter of life. Mr. Speaker, I rise to recognize the continued celebration of the town of Mount Jackson's bicentennial as the historic Shenandoah Valley community marks 200 years since its incorporation in 1826. This milestone is not just about celebrating the passage of time, but the incredible story of a town that transformed and refuses to stand still. Mount Jackson is a masterclass in how to honor the past while building for the future. The historic 1939 Triplet School has been beautifully reimagined as the Shenandoah County Community Center, now a vibrant 30,000 square foot hub for residents. The Nelson Theater, a beacon of Main Street culture, is poised for its own massive renovation that will once again make it a centerpiece of community life. Mayor Donnie Pfeiffer highlights that the town's forward momentum is powered by its people and businesses. Holtzman Oil and Propane, Red 11 Potato Chips, and Bowman Andros products, each contributing to the local economy and carrying Mount Jackson's name across the globe. As town manager Olivia Hilton put it, there are thousands, they are the authors of the next 200 years, and it's time to make them historic. Let us all recognize the town of Mount Jackson as a shining example of Virginia's spirit, a town that honors its heritage and invests in its future. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Caston, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, what shall we say to angry men in robes? What are we going to say to men in robes who are angry about the outcome of the Civil War? What are we going to say to men in robes who are angry about Reconstruction-era amendments to our Constitution that said that anyone born in America can't have their voice or their vote suppressed regardless of their race? What are we going to say to men in robes who are angry that Congress finally enshrined those protections into law through the 1964 and 1965 Civil Rights Acts? What are we going to say to men in robes who are angry that those laws gave voices to people whose voices had been suppressed since 1619? What are we going to say to those angry men if they believe that their robes and their robes alone are going to scare us into silence? That it'll let them force their racist and unconstitutional wills on us? Now, Chief Justice Roberts has said that we now live in a colorblind society, to which I would ask you all, does your answer to those questions depend on whether their robe is white or black? Because make absolutely no mistake, the agenda of this Supreme Court and the agenda of the Klan are far too similar. This court decided in Shelby that Congress couldn't supervise state elections that had a history of discrimination. They decided in Calais that it's okay to design congressional districts to suppress minority voices. And they will do that all confident that their robes are going to scare us all into silence. So I ask you again, what are we going to say to all these angry men in robes? Because we do have a voice in this body. We have the legislative authority to slash their jurisdiction, to take away their ability to decide what cases to hear. We have the power to defend this co-equal branch against their encroachments, to defend the Constitution, and to defend every American who yearns for a country that is better than this. Now, some of you all are no doubt going to favor silence. But the best among us in this body right now are going to lift every one of our voices and sing. We're going to sing a song that is full of the faith that all that dark past has taught us, but is rich with the hope that this present has brought us. And make no mistake, every one of us, the singers and the silent, are going to be heard. I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Norman, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize and honor a true public servant, Chief Russell Roark, whose life has been defined by dedication, by integrity, and by exceptional service to the people of Union County and the entire state of South Carolina. Chief Roark first began his career in public safety in 1962, over 64 years ago, when he joined the City of Union Fire Department. Just 1 year later, he joined the City of Union Police Department. Through hard work, professionalism, and steady leadership, Chief Roark quickly advanced through the ranks, becoming Assistant Chief of Police in 1975, then Chief of Police in 1982. In 1983, he played a pivotal role in the merger of the City of Union Police Department and the Fire Department into a single unified agency known as the Union Public Safety Department. He became his first director, and under his leadership, the department earned South Carolina law enforcement accreditation, becoming the first law enforcement agency in Union County to achieve such a distinction and honor. Chief Roark also made lasting improvements to the Community Fire Service Division, emphasizing advanced training and the importance of strong fire prevention efforts. Thanks to his leadership, the department earned a Class II ISO rating, which is the Insurance Services Office, an achievement that enhanced public safety while reducing insurance costs for the residents and the businesses all across Union County. After 40 years of service, Chief Roark retired from the Union Public Safety Department in 2003. But his commitment to serving others did not end there. He returned just 2 days later to work with the Union County Sheriff's Department, where he served as a patrol deputy and the civil process deputy. In 2021, South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster awarded Roark with the Order of the Palmetto, which is the state's highest civilian honor. Chief Roark officially retired from law enforcement in November of last year after 63 years of public service. This is an outstanding achievement. His career represents a lifetime devoted to protecting others and strengthening the community he so proudly called home. His legacy is not confined to the number of years he has served, which is no doubt historic, but it is immortalized in the many lives that he touched, the standard that he continually set, and the example that he leaves behind. Chief Roark's dedication, his faith, and his integrity have made a lasting impression on everyone in Union County and will continue to inspire future generations of public servants to follow in his footsteps. I'm proud to recognize Chief Russell Roark and thank him for his lifetime of extraordinary service and commitment to the people of Union County and to the entire state of South Carolina. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Rivas, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, last September, the Trump administration announced that it would roll back the EPA's greenhouse gas reporting program, or the GHGRP. I led 29 of my colleagues urging the EPA to preserve the GHGRP. I also introduced a resolution to protect it from the Trump administration's attacks. Since 2010, the GHGRP has collected and tracked greenhouse gas emissions from more than 8,000 sites, including landfills, power plants, and oil refineries. Federal agencies, state and local governments, businesses, and community-based organizations rely on this data to keep our communities and environment healthy. Rolling back the GHGRP will leave environmental justice communities unprepared to address the harmful environmental, health, and economic impacts of climate change. My constituents in the San Fernando Valley have long lived in a sacrifice zone and a dumping ground for environmental pollution. This has led to generational health problems and increased rates of asthma and other respiratory diseases than in surrounding areas. The Trump administration is making it harder to keep our communities healthy and safe from pollution. I urge my colleagues to join me in calling for the administration to protect environmental justice communities and halt its rollback of the GHGRP. Congratulations to North Hollywood High School for placing 5th in the National Science Bowl. Led by North Hollywood teacher and coach Altair Main, Connor Zhao, Connor Chang, Mingao Guo, Suzuku Oshima, and Charles Wang, this team proudly represented Los Angeles and the San Fernando Valley in a nationwide competition of 65 high school teams. In a crowded and competitive field, the team showed their teamwork and exceptional STEM knowledge by answering complex questions about biology, chemistry, earth science, physics, energy, and math. Congratulations to Coach Main for leading North Hollywood High School to another strong finish. Thank you for encouraging the North Hollywood High School community to become involved and interested in STEM. North Hollywood High School's series of top finishes in the National Science Bowl is proof that the best science minds can be found in California's 29th Congressional District. My office was happy to host the team and give them a tour of the U.S. Capitol when they were in Washington, D.C. this month. It's clear that they all have bright futures ahead. I want to give a special shout out to the 3 seniors on the team, Connor Zhao and Connor Chang, best friends since the 4th grade. They'll be attending Stanford. And Suzuku, who was a gold medalist in the International Biology Olympiad his sophomore year, he will be attending MIT in the fall. The future of this program, the students on the team and faculty who support the team is bright. The San Fernando Valley congratulates Sylvia Fajardo on her retirement as principal of Pacoima Charter Elementary School. After decades of service, leadership, and dedication, Sylvia is a true champion in our community. Sylvia immigrated to the United States at the age of 13, where she quickly learned English and became a proud naturalized citizen. Sylvia believed in giving back to the country that gave her and her family new opportunities. She enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, where she served 8 years before receiving an honorable discharge. But her service to her community did not end there. Sylvia brought the same discipline, care, and determination into the classrooms of Pacoima Charter Elementary School, where she uplifted students and their families. Drawing on her background in civil engineering, Sylvia built a comprehensive STEM program at Pacoima Charter, which opened doors for students of all backgrounds to explore their interests in the STEM fields. Sylvia's steady leadership was on full display when Pacoima became the target of Trump's ICE raids. Sylvia was at the forefront, protecting students, supporting families, and ensuring that none of the Pacoima community faced these challenges alone. This is who she is as a leader and as a member of our community. It was my honor to invite her as my guest to this year's State of the Union address. Sylvia understands what it means to dedicate your life to serving our community and country with honor. We celebrate Sylvia's incredible career and the lasting impact that she has made in our community. Thank you, Sylvia. I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Fine, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to recognize and honor Mr. John Browning, Jr., a distinguished member of the Putnam County community who shows that leadership and civic duty are a full-time job. During his time in the United States Army, Mr. Browning learned unique skills such as teamwork and leadership that's led to his business success. After earning his associate's degree at St. John's River State College and bachelor's degree at Florida State University, Mr. Browning began running multiple businesses in Florida, including his family's ranch and the oldest restaurant in Florida, Angel's Dining Car. He was then appointed by former President George H.W. Bush to the National Council on Surface Transportation and the White House Advance Team. Later, Mr. Browning became the Senior Vice President of Political Affairs for the Goodman Company, headquartered in West Palm Beach. His work aims to support real estate investment that center around commerce and energy grid initiatives. John Browning Jr. served Florida with humility, attentiveness, and an understanding of the Florida community, and I've enjoyed working with him since I first got elected to the Florida legislature in 2016. He embodies the very best of American citizenship, and I ask my colleagues to join me in recognizing his remarkable contributions. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize the bravery and resilience of Putnam County's firefighters and first responders and the county's tremendous leadership on combating one of the county's worst wildfires in recent years. I also want to thank St. Lucie County Fire District for sending their firefighters all the way up to Putnam to help extinguish our fires. These railroad fires, which started with a spark from a passing train, have been raging for weeks now, destroying roughly 4,700 acres of land. The devastation has strained resources and forced hundreds to evacuate from their homes. Thanks to the leadership of Putnam County's government and the tremendous hard work of our firefighters and emergency responders, the fire is now 95% contained as of today. We can never ignore the dedication of our emergency responders and what the sacrifice they make to our communities. It ensures our neighbors are safe and why our communities will always be a place for our children and grandchildren to grow and to prosper. I'm grateful as well to our state and local partners for working together to contain this disaster, including to President Trump and FEMA for approving the state's request for federal funds to help fight against the railroad fires. I look forward to continuing to be a resource in any way that I can for the people of Putnam County back home. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize and honor the spectacular work and commitment of Carol Peters within the agricultural community of Florida's 6th Congressional District. Mrs. Peters is the owner of Slow Turtle Farms in beautiful Eustis, Florida. From her humble plot of land, she's transformed a dairy operation into a jewel of the Eustis community. Carol Peters is no stranger to hard work. For years, she and her husband have faithfully stood as owners, operators, and tenants of their operation. Their farm is not just a simple pastime. It's an all-encompassing adventure that demands a level of perfection and quality. Through their efforts, Slow Turtle Farms wears the distinct badge of a USDA Grade A dairy farm. But in 2024, Carol decided to take a step back from the operation of the farm and apply her expertise to the future of my constituents in Florida's 6th Congressional District. Investing into our future farmers and ranchers, Mrs. Peters now holds classes showing students how to raise, breed, and invest within their own livestock. Agriculture is too often overlooked as something that we need to focus on, but she's made it a priority to keep that tradition alive. Working alongside the County Future Farmers of America and 4-H programs, she's ensured the future of Florida's agriculture is in good hands. It's my honor to represent a constituent who understands the vital role of the agriculture industry and where Florida's youth fits within this puzzle. I'd also like to recognize a major achievement of Mrs. Peters and her students, winning Best in Show for their prized doe goat. Mrs. Peters serves her community with insight, attentiveness, and humility. She embodies the very best of American citizenship, and I ask my colleagues to join me in recognizing her remarkable contributions. Mr. Speaker, it's my distinct pleasure as a member of Congress to recognize and honor the heroes of Florida's 6th Congressional District that keep our cities, roads, and great state safe. As we come to the end of National Police Week, it's imperative that we stand together to honor the brave men and women in blue who continue to protect our communities. Every day, law enforcement officers put their lives on the line and continue to sacrifice home life and their safety for the American people. As a member of Congress, it's my duty to ensure that our nation's police officers understand that I and the rest of Florida's 6th Congressional District will always have their backs. This week, let's take a second to remember the person behind each badge. Each officer has chosen to put their personal safety aside, swearing an oath to protect, serve, defend, and uphold the people and the laws of the United States. It's time our nation places those who protect us at the forefront of efforts and give them the same honor they so humbly choose to serve our nation with. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Costa, for 5 minutes.
Ask unanimous consent to address the House for 5 minutes and to advise and extend my remarks.
So granted. Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today during National Police Week to honor the brave men and women, those in blue in law enforcement, who put the badge on every day and make the choice to serve their communities and to remember the officers who've made the ultimate sacrifice, whose lives have been lost in the line of duty, and their families, who continue to carry that sacrifice with them every single day. In the San Joaquin Valley that I represent, our law enforcement officers are more than public servants. They are coaches, they are mentors, they're neighbors, they're parents, and members of our communities that they protect. This week we're honored to have Sergeant Sammy Ashworth, Sergeant Roland Rendon, and Detective Chris Franks of the Fresno Police Department Honor Guard here in Washington to represent the Central Valley and honored fallen officers from across the country. Their presence here is a reminder of deep respect we owe to every officer who has answered the call to serve. We've seen firsthand in Fresno what can happen when law enforcement has the tools, the technology, the training, and the community to support they need to succeed. Last year, Fresno saw its homicide rate fall to a 51-year all-time low. Shootings, robberies, aggravated assaults, and motor theft vehicles also declined significantly. Fresno police recovered more than 1,500 plus crime-related firearms and achieved a homicide clearance rate above the national average, a tribute to this tremendous department. Those results don't happen by accident. They happen because officers doing their work every single day, 365 days a year. They happen because departments have invested in technology and recruitment and prevention and partnerships with the community to have the best personnel there and to support them. That's why we must continue to support law enforcement with funding, resources, training necessary to protect our community safely and effectively. Last year, I was proud to secure $1 million for the Orange Cove City Police Department to help relocate their current department into a new facility that will strengthen public safety for that community they serve. In addition, we were able to obtain another $1 million for the Parlier Police Department to renovate its facilities, improve operating conditions while supporting public safety in the valley. But public safety is bigger than policing alone. If we really want to have safer communities across our country, we must invest in prevention as well. Prevention is worth a pound of cure. When families can afford groceries, health care, child care, housing, when young people have the access to good schools, job opportunities, when people have pathways to succeed, communities become stronger and crime declines. That's a simple matter of fact. Food security is national security. Economic security is public safety. Think about it in those ways. When people are left behind, when costs continue to rise, when support systems disappear, the pressure on families and communities grow. We cannot expect law enforcement alone to carry every burden created by poverty, addiction, mental health challenges, and economic instability. Supporting public safety means supporting both officers who work and protect our communities and hardworking families to build the better lives. So today, during National Police Week, I want to thank every law enforcement officer serving our communities, not only in the 21st Congressional District, but throughout the country. Every family that stands beside them, every officer who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our nation. We honor them, we support them, and we never forget them. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to close by saying that God bless all those men and women who serve to protect our communities every day, 365 days of the year. They are truly the epitome of public service, and we thank all of them. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. The chair recognizes the other gentleman from Washington, Mr. Baumgartner, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe every member of Congress claims to have the most beautiful and wonderful district in the country, but I know it in the 5th District of Washington State, the good people of Eastern Washington. Over the last break, I had the opportunity to do a 12-county and 12-day whistle-stop tour across my district, and I want to share with the good members of Congress, the people of America, what I learned. Mr. Speaker, the inspiration for this trip was actually the former Speaker of the House, Tom Foley, who once represented the congressional district that I am now pleased to represent. Many people in Eastern Washington think fondly of Tom Foley, including myself. In 1998, I received a Foley Scholarship at the Washington State University. I'm often inspired by him, and he made whistle-stop tours. In that spirit, I was inspired by him to make a 12-day tour across all 12 counties in my district, the largest congressional district in Washington. I had the honor of meeting with constituents at town hall meetings, county courthouses, schools, small businesses, and manufacturing facilities to hear directly about their concerns, priorities, and ideas for the future. The people of Washington's 5th Congressional District spoke about many important issues, expressing support for progress in areas such as passage of the Farm Bill, which will benefit our farmers and ranchers, as well as continued congressional backing for the defense and aerospace industries that are vital to our region's economy and national security. We also discussed the ongoing challenges facing our communities, including access to rural health care, rising gas prices, burdensome regulations, concerns surrounding trade policy, and ensuring the competitiveness of college sports. I am so proud to serve as the voice of my constituents here in Washington, and we will continue to working to advance legislation that strengthens the communities of Eastern Washington. So whether from Ione to Inchelium, from Clarkston to Colville, the wheat fields of the Palouse, the vineyards of Walla Walla, we have such a beautiful district, and it was wonderful to visit it over these last 12 days. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize the outstanding achievements of the Colville High School Rocket Club, whose team recently qualified as a finalist in the National American Rocketry Challenge. This team of 10 talented and dedicated students devoted months designing, building, and launching model rockets in pursuit of excellence in science, engineering, and teamwork, earning a place amongst the top 100 teams nationwide, and extraordinary accomplishments, especially in the competition that included more than 1,000 teams from across the country. I am proud to welcome the Colville High School Rocket Club to Washington, D.C. this week. I met with them earlier on the Capitol steps. They truly represent the best of the future, and I can assure the American people that our future is bright as a country because of the young men and women of the Colville Rocket Team. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor a Spokane institution and celebrate the 45th anniversary of the Swinging Doors Bar in Spokane, Washington. Founded by Bob and Barb Materney on May 11th, 1981, the Swinging Doors has been a go-to spot for delicious food and a warm, friendly atmosphere in Spokane for years. From the Doors Ma's to the Swinging Doors Broasted Chicken, from Barb's Bacon Burger to the German Sausage Sandwich, you can't go wrong with the order at the Swinging Doors. And over these past 45 years, the Swinging Doors has been more than just a restaurant. It's been a gathering place for families, friends, and neighbors. The Swinging Doors employs over 40 people, an experience with 60 televisions, and an ideal spot to catch your favorite team on game day. Congratulations to the Swinging Doors and Bob and Barb. Everyone in Spokane knows how wonderful you are, and it's wonderful to share your story with the good people of America and have you entered in the congressional record. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The chair now recognizes the lady from California, Ms. Barragan, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, do you know what the price of a gallon of gasoline costs today? It's too much. In Toledo, Ohio, it's $4.56. In Gainesville, Florida, it's $4.43. In Salt Lake City, Utah, it is $4.54. That is too expensive. And you know what President Trump said about it? He basically said, tough luck. He said he doesn't think about Americans' financial situation. His priorities make that clear. You know what is a priority for Trump and Republicans? Billions of your tax dollars to fund a fancy ballroom for Trump and his billionaire buddies, and at the same time, giving ICE $70 billion to continue terrorizing our communities. What Americans need right now is relief from higher costs. Gas is more expensive. Groceries are more expensive. Healthcare is more expensive because of choices made by Trump and Republicans. Trump and Republicans have taxed Americans thousands of dollars a year on everyday items with their tariffs like phones, soup, and shoes, and cut billions of dollars in programs that would help make healthcare more accessible. The pain Americans felt was not enough for Trump and Republicans. As costs were already rising, Donald Trump launched us into this reckless war of choice on Iran that has skyrocketed gas prices, and that pain is felt by Americans, every American. As of Monday this week, the average price of gas was $4.52 a gallon. That's a parent deciding whether to fill the tank or buy groceries. That's a worker wondering if they can afford the commute to their job. And everywhere I go, in town halls and community events, neighborhood meetings, I hear the same thing. Congresswoman, prices are too high. We can't keep up. People are frustrated. Trump promised to lower costs and end foreign wars. He lied. The American people are paying the price, and Trump says their pain is, quote, worth it. In my district, Mariana, a Wilmington resident, thinks twice before using her car. Why? She's afraid she can't afford the price of gas. She now relies on online shopping just to get what she needs. She doesn't have to use gas to drive to a store. And even Amazon online buying is costing consumers more because of higher fuel cost. And David, a small business owner of a local trucking company, has jumped back into driving his trucks to make ends meet because he can't afford to hire another driver. While families are struggling, big oil companies are cashing in, record profits, windfalls built on people struggling. If oil companies are making billions off of a crisis, then working families deserve a return for their money. And instead of investing in solutions, the Trump administration has cut them. They've cut support for electric vehicles, cut funding for public transit, and cut funding for clean energy sources that would give people a choice. But that's backwards. We need to invest in affordable clean energy of the future so families aren't stuck riding this roller coaster every time oil prices spike. President Trump chose this path, and Republicans backed it, and big oil is profiting from it. Meanwhile, the American people are left holding the bill. That's unacceptable. We need relief now, and we need to end the war to bring prices down. Thank you. I yield back.
All members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities towards the president. The chair recognizes now the lady from the Northern Mariana Islands, Ms. King-Hines, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my district, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, is incredibly far from this chamber, nearly twice as far from Washington, D.C. as Moscow, Russia. But the distance between the Northern Mariana Islands and Washington is not measured only in miles. In many ways, our people are also living with systems and conditions decades behind the rest of our country. Power infrastructure built over 40 years ago struggles to stay online. Water systems built generations ago are failing under the weight of time. And long before Super Typhoon Sinlaku struck our islands this year, our economy was already under extraordinary strain. Tourism had not recovered, businesses were closing, families were leaving, air service was shrinking, government revenues were collapsing. But Mr. Speaker, this did not happen in a vacuum. For decades, federal policies toward the territories, while often well-intentioned, have too often operated as barriers instead of bridges to long-term economic sufficiency. One-size-fits-all federal policies may work on the mainland, but they do not work for small, remote island economies in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. When transportation policies fail to account for isolation, we pay more. When healthcare system fail to account for remoteness, people leave. When economic policies fail to account for the fact that tourism is our customer base, entire industries collapse. And when federal systems are built around the assumption that every community has the same market access and same economic flexibility, places like the Northern Mariana Islands are left trying to survive under rules that were never truly designed for us. Then Super Typhoon Sinlaku arrived. Mr. Speaker, we're now weeks into a territorial right recovery emergency across Saipan, Tinian, and Rota. More than 5,000 residents have already registered for FEMA individual assistance. Nearly half of surveyed households suffered major or catastrophic housing damage. Entire islands lost power, water systems failed, hospitals, schools, sports, airports, and government facilities were forced into emergency operations. And while national media attention has already begun moving on, the people living this reality do not have the luxury of changing the channel. Because for us, this is not a headline, this is home. But thankfully, recovery is happening. But Mr. Speaker, disasters do not create weaknesses out of nowhere. They expose the weakness that already exists. And when a community has spent years operating at the edge, even a single storm can push entire systems toward failure. The Indo-Pacific is often discussed through the lens of strategic competition and force projection. But national resilience in the Pacific also depends on whether American communities in the region remain economically and socially viable. A collapsing utility system is a national security issue. A collapsing transportation system is a national security issue. The inability of American territories to sustain population, workforce, and economic activity in a strategically important region is a national security issue. And if we're serious about maintaining a durable American presence in the Indo-Pacific, then we must also be serious about the long-term viability of the American communities already living there. In the coming weeks, I will be working with my colleagues, federal agencies, and the administration on proposals aimed at addressing the underlying vulnerabilities this disaster has exposed. because we cannot simply rebuild to what existed before. We must build systems that are stronger, more flexible, and actually designed to give communities like ours a chance to survive and grow. And Mr. Speaker, at the beginning, I mentioned that the Northern Mariana Islands live a day ahead of the rest of the country. Sometimes it also feels like communities like mine experience America's future first. What happens when infrastructure ages beyond sustainability? What happens when economic systems become too fragile to absorb disruption? What happens when communities lose the flexibility to respond to their own realities because the system governing them have become too distant and too rigid? In the Northern Mariana Islands, those pressures arrive earlier and more visibly because we are small, remote, and heavily dependent on decisions made here. But the lesson is not unique to the Pacific. A country as large and diverse as the United States cannot remain strong if every community is treated as though it faces the same conditions, the same constraints, and the same path forward. Because recovery is not only about debris removals and emergency response. It is about whether American communities still have a future once the camera leaves and the attention moves on. And for the people of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, that question is immediate, it is urgent, and it deserves the attention of Congress. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
Lady yields back. The chair now recognizes the lady from Oregon, Ms. Hoyle, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In March, I testified in front of the Appropriations Committee in support of a $600 million appropriations funding request for the Veterans State Home Grant. This is a program that funds the veterans, the Roseburg State Veterans Home. The Appropriations Committee came back with a $171 million request instead. That's a $104 million cut from 2026 enacted amount and an insult to those who've served our country and who've earned the right to live out the rest of their lives in dignity. There's a huge backlog of projects that need funding from the VA State Home Grant, including the Roseburg Home, totaling over $1 billion. $1 billion. That's less than we spend in a day on the war in Iran. Veterans in my district have been advocating for this home since 2011. Oregon's done its part. The state's first set aside matching funds for this project in 2011 when Representative Cliff Benson and I served in the state legislature, and again in 2024. Unfortunately, the federal government has not held up its end of the bargain, and the need is clear. My district is home to more veterans than any other district in Oregon, and many live in rural communities with limited access to long-term care options. The Roseburg home would house more than 150 veterans and be a model for community-based care. Our veterans have waited long enough to receive the care they deserve. The federal government needs to step up and ensure these projects, like the Roseburg Veterans Home, can finally move forward. And this isn't just about Roseburg, Oregon, but throughout this country, we should all be united in ensuring our veterans who put their lives on the line to protect and serve our country get the benefits that they earned and deserve. First and foremost, I want to congratulate the Eugene Emergency Physicians for their hard-fought and won contract with Peace Health, the only level 2 trauma hospital between Corvallis, Oregon, and Crescent City, California. Now, for those who don't know, the Peace Health Hospital leadership decided to replace our local emergency physician group, 41 medical professionals who live in our community and who have served our emergency medical needs with distinction for 35 years, with a management-run, venture capital-funded medical group out of Georgia. Fortunately, Oregon passed a law restricting corporate ownership and in the practices of medicine law that restricts MSOs from owning or controlling or directing medical decision making for professional medical entities. It prevents MSOs from using a friendly physician amendment to circumvent ownership laws, and it voids non-compete, non-disclosure, non-disparagement agreements for medical professionals. Now, if this law was not in place, then our community would have been left a lot less safe and less able to respond to a natural disaster or large emergency medical need before the July 4th weekend, which is traditionally the highest ER usage period in the year, and before what everyone agrees will be a devastating wildfire season. We won this battle in Oregon. However, there's no national law that prohibits the corporate ownership and practice of medicine where the highest priority is profits to the shareholders instead of providing quality, affordable, and appropriate health care. We can and should fix that, and it shouldn't be partisan. We should all agree that large insurance companies, hedge funds, and venture capital firms should not be able to buy up healthcare systems, driving up costs while limiting services to everyone but their shareholders. That's why I've introduced the People Over Profits bill to prevent squeezing every bit of profit out of a medical care system at the expense of our constituents when they're at their most vulnerable. We need this law so we can have more wins like the one I'm so proud Eugene Emergency Physicians won last week. We need that all across this great country. It's the right thing to do, and I hope my colleagues would join me in supporting this very, very important legislation.
The lady yields. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Aridopoulos, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize the legacy of William P. Bass, a pioneer who helped found America's space program. After serving in World War II, Mr. Bass continued his service as a civilian leader in the United States Air Force. In 1950, he came to Florida to help establish the Eastern Range, building the infrastructure that would launch the American space race and ultimate success. As the highest-ranking civilian manager at the Eastern Test Range, he oversaw operations that supported Gemini and the Apollo missions between the Air Force and NASA, and led the organization of tens of thousands of men and women in the Missile and Space Operations Program. At the time, when Brevard County was largely undeveloped, his leadership helped transform it into the birthplace of American exploration. His legacy of that work is clear. It helped put Americans on the moon and secure our nation's leadership in space. Today, we honor William P. Bass for his service, his vision, and his lasting impact for the Space Coast. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Andrew L. Miles, a proud veteran from Florida's Space Coast and our Veteran of the Month. Technical Sergeant Miles served our nation honorably for 23 years in the United States Air Force, dedicating his life to our country and our military. In fact, while overseas in Madrid, he met his wife, Angeles, and they shared a life together. His distinguished service earned him the Air Force Commendation Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, Outstanding Unit Award, and the Good Conduct Medal, reflecting a career marked by professionalism and dedication. Mr. Miles also reminds us of the civic truth that democracy depends on participation. So today we thank Andrew L. Miles for his service to our nation, his example of patriotism, and continued commitment to our community. Thank you. We not only live on the Space Coast, but we live on the beach. So today, Mr. Speaker, I rise to recognize the bravery and quick action of the lifeguards on Florida's Space Coast. Recently, a Brevard County Ocean Rescue Team led that fight to take on these dangerous waters. In a moment where every second matters, they acted without hesitation, demonstrating skill, courage, and deep commitment to protecting of others. On one day, they rescued 15 different individuals as they faced strong rip currents and hazardous conditions on our beaches. These lifeguards are often the first line of defense between safety and tragedy. Their work requires vigilance, training, and the willingness to put others first. Their actions serve as a reminder of the importance of respecting the ocean and always providing their guideline. We thank the entire Brevard Ocean Rescue Team for their dedication and saving lives each and every day. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize the outstanding achievement of Eastern Florida's state golf team, the men's team on the Spence Coast. In fact, I used to teach at Eastern Florida and especially proud of their incredible work. The team is currently ranked 8th in the nation, and they are moving up due to their hard work, discipline, and commitment to excellence. This recognition reflects not only the talent they have on the golf course, but of course their performance in the classroom as well. Eastern Florida continues to produce student athletes who represent our region with pride and integrity. We congratulate the team on this achievement and wish them continued success this season. And finally, I recognize the incredible work being done by our Brevard County Public Schools. At the Boeing Destination Moon Award ceremony, more than 500 students were recognized for competing in a year-long STEM design challenge to look at real-world lunar missions. These students developed solutions using coding, robotics, and engineering, and gaining hands-on experience that prepares them for a career in aerospace and amazing new technologies. These students applied their talents to these challenges and led by example. I was proud to be at this event most recently, and it just shows that Brevard County schools are not only putting students first, but they are putting the future in the hands of these students so they can decide that ultimate civil right, which is a great education. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Gentleman from Florida yields. The chair now recognizes the lady from Wyoming, Ms. Hegeman, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize and congratulate the L&H Industrial Team on receiving the 2026 Wyoming Small Business Person of the Year Award. Mike Wandler, Jason Persifield, Dustin Rausch, and Gage Wandler accepted the award after their Gillette company manufactured critical material to propel mankind's return to the moon. L&H built and installed more than 1,300 components for the historic Artemis II mission, the first human flight to lunar orbit in more than 50 years. The Gillette team also built 16 transmissions and engineered an enhanced flame detector system to protect the launch pad from over 9 million pounds of thrust. Their work manufacturing America's next manifest destiny pays homage to our history and our commitment to exploration from the Cowboy State. They make us proud of our frontier heritage. Congratulations to the team at L&H Industrial, and thank you for enabling humanity's next great voyage. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize an extraordinary Wyoming educator whose retirement marks the end of an era for the Casper College Ag Department. Heath Horniker's relationship with Casper College began many years ago when the Douglas graduate followed his passion and his talent to judge livestock for Casper. It was there that he met his teammate and future wife, Jamie, and it is the program he joined as a member of the faculty in 2004. He spent more than 2 decades changing the lives of his students and colleagues with an unwavering commitment to the next generation of Wyoming agriculturalists and imparting nuggets of wisdom to the many individuals that he mentored. He served many roles at Casper College, receiving nearly every single honor offered, including the Community College Faculty Member of the Year for the state of Wyoming, the Rosenthal Outstanding Educator Award, and the Shanklin Faculty Leadership Award. He also served on the Wyoming Association for Career and Technical Education Executive Team and has been an officer on the Casper College Faculty Senate. Known as H-squared to some of his beloved students, the Casper College Ag Department thrived under his tenure. Mr. Hornica now answers an exciting new call, joining the University of Wyoming to continue shaping the next generation of agricultural leaders. Congratulations, Mr. Horniker. We wish you all the best at the University of Wyoming. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Scott Matheny, a Wyomingite who has served our state as Campbell County Sheriff and as someone who has had an outsized impact on the lives of so many. His career in law enforcement has spanned 40 years, including 3 terms as Campbell County Sheriff. His colleagues credit him as a humble leader and a man of true integrity. Alan Thompson, Executive Director of the Wyoming Association of Sheriffs and Chiefs of Police, stated, "He is the guy behind the scenes working to support and connect everyone, working to find and develop new association leaders, and is the first one to reach out and offer support to new sheriffs." Like many in the law enforcement sector, Scott Matheny's servant heart reaches much further than just the world of public safety. Scott is a lead deacon in his church and raised his family in Gillette alongside his wife, Lori. He is now mentoring his grandchildren as they grow up close to home. Wyoming is proud to have community stalwarts like Sheriff Matheny, and we all join in thanking him for his years of dedication. We congratulate him on his retirement from that role, and we wish him all the best in future endeavors. With that, I yield back.
Lady from Wyoming yields back. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the chair declares the House in recess until noon today.